In this overview, we are going to cover some of the analytics improvements that are available in DHIS 2.30. The first feature that we are going to cover is the ability to link directly to a dashboard. In DHIS 2.30, when you click on a dashboard, you will notice the link in your web browser now includes an ID that directly points to the dashboard you have selected. In previous versions of DHIS 2, this was not the case. We can see here that even when the same dashboard is selected, there is no way to identify this dashboard using the link in your web browser. Adding in IDs to the URLs in DHIS that identify the dashboard you are using can simplify the task of sharing a particular dashboard directly through an email message or messaging client, particularly if users have access to many dashboards which may not necessarily be in the same order as your own page. We are now going to introduce some new social features that have been integrated into the analysis applications in the form of mentions and subscriptions. We are now able to subscribe to analysis items. Those subscribing to an item will receive a notification anytime the interpretation of the item is updated. By default, this notification will be sent to the user via the DHIS2 messaging app. However, email and SMS notifications can also be enabled. In order to subscribe to an item, we open the right-hand side Interpretations pane and click on the bell icon that is now located within this pane. Now this user will receive a notification anytime that a new interpretation is added to this particular output. We can see how this works in practice by logging in as a different user and adding in an interpretation to the same output that we had opened before in the data visualizer. We can open up the Interpretations pane, choose Write Interpretation, and add an interpretation to this particular chart. Once this interpretation has been added, any users that have subscribed to this item will receive a notification. If we log back in as a user who originally subscribed to the item and navigate to the Messages app, we can see that the user has received a new message indicating the analysis item has been updated. This method of notification is useful if the user is logging in to DHIS2 regularly. However, this may not always be the case. We can also enable these notifications to be sent using SMS or email. We can see an example of the email message that is sent out. The content of the message is identical to what is sent in the Messages app. However, this method of delivery could potentially be more useful in having people check on the data if they are not routinely logging in, but want to be aware of updates and priorities in the analysis of their information. In addition to subscribing to receive updates, we can now directly mention a user in our interpretations and comments. These mentions will also, by default, be sent directly to the user's messaging inbox in DHIS2. Similar to subscriptions, however, we can also configure SMS and email notifications to be sent out to the user if they only log in to the system on occasion. We can see an example of this by creating a mention within an interpretation. We do this by adding the @ symbol and searching for the user in the system that we want to mention in our interpretation or comment. We can then add our interpretation and share this. Even if the person we have mentioned is not subscribed to this particular item, they will still receive a notification because they have been mentioned in the comment itself. We can see an example of the message that is sent in the Messages app after the mention. We can also see this via email. The text is the exact same, however, like subscriptions, it is a method of delivery that is different. As with all notifications, be careful to manage them such that they remain useful and users are not receiving unwanted notifications which they will end up ignoring. This has been a brief review of some of the new social features in DHIS2. These features have been implemented in order to provide a simplified method to share dashboards as well as update users directly through mentions and subscriptions to foster more frequent review of analysis items. If there are any questions about the concepts discussed in this overview, please do not hesitate to let us know.